There is much activity at Kununurra these days as a result of the tentative proposal for the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh to visit Kununurra on March 17 next. All air traffic, which is considerable these days, has been diverted to Ivanhoe for approximately 6 weeks to enable the complete rebuilding and levelling of the Kununurra Strip, and main roads groups under the supervision of foreman Ted Shepherd are working to capacity to upgrade the strip to the full requirements of the Department of Civil Aviation. All plant required to fully seal the reconstruction has been assembled in readiness to proceed with this work approved. They made a thorough inspection of the Kununurra Strip with a view to positioning navigational aids and arranging dispersal of the variety of aircraft which would use the strip during the visit. Mr. Graham stated that the present tour itinerary definitely included Kununurra. It is anticipated that the main aircraft involved in the visit in order of arrival will be DCA Friendship for ground air control, Air Force Dakota with maintenance crew, Continental Royal Party, Continental Complete Reserve Aircraft, Hercules carrying pressmen and others. It is expected that some 150 pressmen from all over the world will accompany the touring party. The DCA aircraft simulated the Royal Continental and made many trial approaches and dummy runs over the Kununurra Strip. Details were taken over 20 years' weather records of the vicinity during the March period. Before his departure, Mr. Graham stated that although he would like to see the strip and road approaches to the dam site sealed before March, he was quite satisfied with the general picture and thought there was little doubt that we would have the pleasure of seeing the Queen at Kununurra. Two plane loads of Wyndham residents also travelled by DC-3 of the MMA. Many residents on the surrounding stations travelled long distances to Kununurra, some coming as far away as Halls Creek. At 10:35 a.m. on March 17th, the aircraft carrying Her Majesty the Queen and His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh touched down at Kununurra Airstrip. As the royal couple alighted, they were received by the Premier and Mrs. David Brand. Colourfully dressed natives who came from outlying stations led the cheering as the couple walked from the airstrip. Elaborate precautions were taken to protect the Queen from the century heat and high humidity. She and the Duke travelled in an air-conditioned car, and a special unit cooled the royal aircraft as it stood on the Kununurra airstrip. When a 90-ton radial gate was raised, they watched water cascade from the 20 million gallon Ord diversion dam, now half full. But the Duke seemed more interested in two crocodiles below the dam spillway. While the Duke questioned engineers on technical aspects of the project, the Queen took an interest in the women of Kununurra, how they lived and coped with tropical conditions. The Queen presented an extremely cool picture, dressed in pastel green with matching hat and white accessories, and appeared unaffected by the hot, humid conditions. The Duke, in deference to the heat, wore shirt sleeves and slacks. After inspecting the diversion dam, the royal party proceeded via the farm area to the Ord Hostel, where Mr. R.A. Hamilton, the resident engineer of the Public Works Department, delivered an address of welcome. Nearly 1,000 people heard the Queen respond. After inspecting the diversion dam, the royal party proceeded via the farm area to the Ord Hostel, where Mr. R.A. Hamilton, the resident engineer of the Public Works Department, delivered an address of welcome. Nearly 1,000 people heard the Queen respond. Resident engineer Roy Hamilton, 38, who has been in charge of construction since the inception of the Ord project, officially welcomed the Queen and the Duke to Kununurra. The people of Kununurra were thrilled and charmed by the Queen's and the Duke's sparkling personalities. And despite months of preparation, worries and difficulties, it all seemed worthwhile because the royal visit was a tremendous success and an outstanding credit to the organisers. 40 children from the Forest River Native Mission had a 20-mile trip by barge before a 70-mile drive to Kununurra. They had a special place a few yards from the Queen as she addressed the townspeople. The roads leading to Kununurra were in good order and a heavy volume of traffic came through the 63-mile journey to witness the royal visit. Among the guests in the enclosure were Mr. G.P. Wild, Minister for Works, Mr. J.J. Radigan, MLA, and Mrs. Radigan, Deputy Shire President, Councillor Ron Sargent and Mrs. Sargent. Before the royal couple left for the Australian Inland Mission, they moved through the gathering and chatted for some time with the people. They spent most of their time chatting with residents and asking searching questions on the Ord River Irrigation Scheme, its purpose and future. The Duke chatted with several of the local farmers who were amazed by his knowledge of farming and irrigation.
I've received a message from Her Majesty the Queen, who came up here some little time ago, on I believe a very hot day, and enjoyed it, and has frequently told me since how much she enjoyed it. And there's a message from her, addressed to myself. I am so much interested to know that you are opening the Ord River Diversion Dam today. Both my husband and I have the happiest memories of our visit to Connemara last March, and we send our good wishes to all assembled on this occasion, which is so important for the future economy of Western Australia and for that of the Commonwealth of Australia. Signed, Elizabeth.
Ceremony and formality dissolved in the tropical heat when the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh chatted informally with Ord pioneer farmers, engineers and their families at the Ord River township of Kununurra today. The royal couple stayed in Western Australia 25 minutes longer than the scheduled when they crossed from the Northern Territory for a planned 90-minute stay. The extra time was spent talking to local people and visiting the Australian Inland Mission Hospital. At the Australian Inland Mission, the royal couple were greeted by the chaplain, the Reverend Ron Sparks and Mrs. Sparks, and sisters Betty King and Billy Hill were presented to Her Majesty. Just after midday, the royal couple said farewell and left in their Convair for Darwin.
From the Royal Yacht Britannia in Fremantle Harbour, Her Majesty will in a few moments broadcast a farewell message to her people in Australia. Her Majesty, the Queen.
Even though Australia is now only about 24 hours travelling from London, it seemed a pity to restrict my visit to the celebrations in Canberra. We therefore decided to stay a bit longer, and in order to be perfectly fair, we arranged to pay short visits to each of the state capitals. In addition, and because we didn't go there last time, I was very anxious to visit the Northern Territory and parts of northwestern Australia. There were also other occasions with a very special significance for Australia's future. The tremendous Snowy Mountains scheme, the simple ceremony in Brisbane marking the discovery of oil, the Ord River irrigation project, and the iron ore enterprise on Kulin Island.